Hello and welcome to Lesson 8, Processes of Social Change. In this session we're going to look at how social influence can be used to explain the various social movements and pressure groups that have propped up and changed society over the past few hundred years. Before we do that, let's have a quick recap of what we mean by social change, and if you haven't read the guide notes already, please go back and make sure you've read them through at least once before watching this video. So, social change. This refers to a change in attitudes and behavioural laws which takes place on a large scale, affecting society as a whole. The process of social change consists of 5 steps. So you have step 1. You draw attention to an issue. So minorities can bring about social change by drawing attention to perhaps an issue that wasn't seen as a big issue. For many whites during the civil rights era, the plight of black people was largely unknown to them. And that would have been true, especially true, for example, for homosexuals in Britain, given that they make up such a small percentage of the population. For the average heterosexual man or woman, their plight would have largely gone unnoticed. So you draw attention to the issue. This creates conflict. So minorities create conflict in the minds of the majority, and we start thinking, why are these people challenging the norm, the social norm? And this gets us to think about our own position. If the group are consistent and the message is consistent over and over again, then social change is more likely when the minority is consistent in their position. We then have this augmentation principle. If a minority appears willing to suffer for their views, now that's really important, because that shows dedication. That shows that they're not just, it's not a whim, they're dedicated to this. And it must clearly be affecting them. And then you get the snowball effect. This is where initially, small changes, small groups of people are influenced, and then that cascades until eventually the minority position becomes the majority. Let's recap to minority influence. So we got Martin Luther King back there. So minority influence, if you remember what Moscovici said, he said there were 3 things that you need to do. 1, show commitment. 2, flexibility. 3, consistency. Now we can see this using the civil rights movement as an example. They demonstrate commitment. So Martin Luther King himself was arrested several times, as were many members of the movement. So they demonstrate pure commitment to their cause. They demonstrate flexibility as well, because they were able to join with a variety of different groups, religious groups, politicians on both sides of the aisle, so Republicans and Democrats. Charities and other organisations were crucial. This shows that they're flexible and they can work with different groups. Consistency, the message was the same, and that's why it was so effective. Equality. It didn't change halfway through and demand more. It was just straight equality. Now the minority turns into the majority over time. So once a minority has won over the majority, the normative social influence, informational social influence comes into play. So people either comply with the majority just to fit in, or they internalise the views of the majority and genuinely believe in it. A good example is Obama. Barack Obama was against gay marriage when he ran for Senate first time. He is now obviously in favour of it and has brought it into law. So I assume that he's not just complying to fit in. I assume he genuinely believes it. Perhaps he was complying before when he said he didn't believe in it. Seems likely. Group membership. So another element is mass recognise that actually the idea of group membership is really important for social change.